Well, okay, welcome everybody. Hopefully everybody's in to our 2025 how-to clinics. All right, thanks, Jerry. Next up is going to be Jimmy. So he's going to be talking about weathering.
Thanks. I got to make it up as it goes. This thing work?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep. In
maybe
fact, okay.
All right, so we'll just use this. All right. All right. Hi, everybody. If you don't know me, I'm Jimmy. I brought a lot of stuff and also a lot of slides, so we got a lot to go over. Just a little background on me. When I was younger, I wanted to become a train. Didn't work out for me, but anyways. I'm going to start with really what inspires you. And we all love trains, and but where does that inspiration, especially being an artist myself, I kind of figure out what I want to create by things that I come across. So this is a ore car that I never knew existed until I saw it here, and I just like fell in love. And then I found out you could actually get these in G scale, so I was super excited about this. I also have everything from these slides are over here on the table, so afterwards you're more than welcome to ask me any questions about it. I'm over there. So if you haven't seen my coal train yet, this is what really the idea came from. The coal train that I brought, I ran at the show in Puyallup. This is actually the image, that one and this one is the image that really inspired me to do this. I also put pictures of my dog up here, so it keeps you guys interested. So that's actually, I found that on Google Image. It's one of my favorite things in the world. So it started with this train, the number 2, and it ended up being weathered and turned into the engine you see on the right, which is all over here. So if you want to see this in person, feel free to just go over there and check it out. And also the coal, the rolling stock. It started out clean, but I don't like anything clean. I like to beat it up. It's like an old shoe. When you get a new shoe, you're like, oh, cool, it's a new shoe. But it's the old shoe that really tells a story, that really has, you question where that old shoe has been. So that's kind of what inspires me for my pieces, is to beat the heck out of it, weather it, to give it a story. Just a clean engine or a clean rolling stock is great and fun, but I really enjoy giving it a story. Go this way. There's a close-up picture of it. Like I said, I have 2 of them over here if you want to see them in person. This is what I pretty much use, and this is what I'm going to be doing my demo on today, is dry brushing and staining. They're 2 of the most basic weathering techniques. And so throughout the slides, if you do have something to write down or you want, I can give you a copy of this, but this is what I use to do it. So a lot of the material I have is going to be in the slide itself, and then at the end of the slide there's going to be everything you need or what I use on all my stuff. And there's so much more, but I'm only going to talk about 2 really processes today. This is a fan brush, and I use a lot of fan brush, which a lot of painters use this when they're painting, but it's just a brush that's kind of fanned out. And it's a very light brush, so when I do my dry brushing, and I'll show you how to do that, I use a lot of fan brushes. And they come in different sizes. I threw the coal. This is a coal that I used to put on the bottom to kind of build up, to kind of show it's been used before. So a lot of coal sat on and kind of aged into the bottom of it. And what's really cool, this coal came from my grandfather's HO scale layout. He's no longer with me, but that's his, so it's kind of cool to be able to use something that he used in his on my trains. So I kind of had to throw that in there. But just some super glue and throw that dust on there. And then also the larger pieces are just fish gravel for fish tank that I use. So if you go over there and it's a little bit bigger, it's because it's just black fish, got it at Petco. A lot of the techniques that I use is just staining and dry brushing. And I use a lot of acrylic paint, and I also do use oils depending on the surface. That's Weena. And this caboose is right over there, so afterwards you can check that out. This picture is just from the other day when I was outside playing in the snow. I have air wire in this, and Eric, one of our members, actually put it in, and then he actually just added sound to it. So that's super exciting. I hope someday I can learn how to do all that wiring stuff, but I'm just more, let's use some paint, have fun. All right, so the train on the left is what it used to look like, and now it's the one on the right. All right, so this is what the cabooses that I weathered are over here. This is kind of what they start out, and then I pretty much just beat the heck out of it. The roof on that is actually sandpaper, just from Harbor Freight. It's a belt sander. It comes in that color, so it's really cool and unique, and it stands out. Throw some watered down black on that, kind of rub it down, and I'll show you how to do that here in a second. And that's what kind of makes it pop a little bit more. All that watered down acrylic paint just seeps into the crevices, and then you wipe off the top of it, and it kind of gives it a little bit of depth and also some age. And a bunch of sandpaper to use the, but there's a close-up of it, and cricket. All right, a technique that I didn't probably create it, but it was a complete accident, is I used oil paint to stain, so I mixed it with water. You know, oil and water doesn't mix, but I didn't look at the thing for it. But I was like, oh, it's kind of looking, so I just painted it on, which gives it this really cool, almost like peel paint look. So actually I use that now. It was a complete accident. So I used that, and I know I used it on one of the cabooses over there. So this is one of my first cabooses that I weathered. I believe Manny has this one. It's another, I think that's the one I have over there that I made for myself. All right, let's start with Paulie's caboose, and this is one that I built for Paul here. It's our 4-year anniversary, by the way, this year. So,
Love you, brother.
Yeah. You got me. So anyways, so pretty much what I did, Paul gave me this little wiener dog thing over here, and I had this little broken gut figure that ended up calling Peg Leg Peg Leg Joe. But I actually started doing the roofing on this. And what I do is I just take a LaCroix can. If you drink beer, beer cans work just as well. Cut them up, and then I have a roller over there that actually corrugates the thing, and cans are free. Sandpaper on the top of that to give it some age, and then stain it with just acrylic paint. Works great. The inside of it, I use just wood finish and popsicle sticks from Walmart.
Hey, can I
Yes.
interject here?
Yeah.
Jimmy asked me to bring mine, and it's on display over there. And if you guys get a chance, I can't stress enough to you, look inside his work. I mean, you look inside that caboose, and in the back, there's a Puget Sound Garden Railway Society pin on the wall. And
Thank you, Mark. I got 100 of those.
there's a shade tag, and just lanterns. But just take a few minutes, turn the spotlight on your phone and look in there. Just the detail will blow your mind.
If I can interject,
Go ahead.
there's a whole box full of those pins sitting in the back here. They're free to whoever wants to take some.
I'll take a handful. I'm running out. So yeah, so pretty much, like you said, you can only see so far into it. And I think there's inside. So honestly, I didn't do the whole thing because you can't see it, you know, unless you take the roof off. So you just, it's almost like, it's a little hidden thing in there that not many people get to see, but it's there. And when you do look hard enough, you will see it. And that's kind of like a nice little surprise.
Did you just glue the popsicle sticks to the wall and then?
Yep.
then
Well,
stain them?
what I did is glued it to the wall, and then I actually made it. It's almost like a real siding. I have like almost like supports in there, and then I glue them on. Then I do all the weathering. But each piece is like hand sand those, and I cut gouges into them because those gouges is what really take the stain, the wood stain, almost just how I'm going to do the acrylic stain. So this door right here is the inside door that you can see inside. This is pretty much all the material I use. Popsicle sticks and the wood stain and the oil, which I find that the oil works better on the aluminum. And if you're going to use oil paint, use it on top of acrylic. It doesn't work the opposite way very well. If you put acrylic paint on oil, doesn't really work too well, but oil on acrylic will work pretty well. So there's some of the dry brushing that I used on the door. That door actually slides open and shut. That's it shut right there. There's Peg Leg Pete. I think that was it.
Joe.
Peg Leg Joe? Joe?
Sure.
Yeah. Anyways,
Not Paul. Yeah. The D.
and so I gave it a little peg leg and Peg Leg Paul.
Yeah. Former switchman at a Lincoln Pin, actually.
Yeah. So I'm going to just hand this little piece over. This is actually the one that's in the picture. And you can actually see there's crackle on that. And that is one of the tools that I've got. All this material that I show you is from Amazon. Also, Hobby Lobby is a great place. And if you're in Bonnie Lake, Ben Franklin, thank you. Which is the original Ben Franklin. And is the last one left, too. So, just a little history there. So, this is the only mediums that I use on that. So, this piece of plastic is actually cut from Paul or Mark's train over there. I'm not sure which one. And then so that's just a little a test piece that I did so I can learn the material. All right, that is, I think, the opposite side of it. That's just white paint with the crackle on top and then the stain. And that stain seeps into the cracks, which make it stand out a little bit more, make it more realistic, and also gives it a little bit more character. That's Mina sunning herself. Comical relief, sorry. Know your audience. Yes?
Does the crackle go on before the first paint's dry then?
Oh, good question. No, put your acrylic paint on, then let that dry, and then add the crackle on. And the thicker you put it on, the bigger the cracks are, the lighter you put will be very small. If you look on Mark's caboose, I put crackle on around all of the windowsills. Very light coat because it's only like that big. So then when I stained it, it really showed up. And then especially even on the doors, you could see how the little cracks come, and it just really makes it more believable. It gives it more of a story. And that's kind of the way I create my stuff, is this like, I give it a story. There is more to it than just it being a caboose.
Jimmy,
Yes?
go back a couple slides, will you? Is that Paul on the right?
You recognized him. Hey! I was wondering if anybody's going to notice that.
Quite the six pack there.
Yeah. Happy anniversary. All right, let's move on. Where are we at? All right, so, and I just threw this in there really quick, is my paparazzi car, I call it. So it holds a GoPro, two cameras, and I can't just leave anything boring. I have to weather it. So the finished piece is over there if you want to go check that out. This is all the material that I have, from the paintbrushes here on the table to everything that I use pretty much. I have a very limited palette because if you throw too much color on there, it muddies and it just becomes just too much. So you really just pick 2 to 3 colors, whatever you create. Well, this is how I go about it. I just use just a few colors because if you put too much on there, it just gets muddied out and you kind of lose something, unless that's your thing. Any questions? All right, do we have time for a quick little how-to? Yep, all right. So I created this week as just a little test piece. This is, I encourage you all, it's just a piece of plastic and then siding. I got a whole bunch of material from my grandfather's HO collection. So I just kind of pretty much glued a bunch of stuff on there. Thank you. Just for staining reasons and dry brushing. You guys are kind of far away, but if anybody wants like their own personal like how-to, I'd be totally into it. So, doing this with one hand, let's see if I can do it. So, I am going to just start with this environmental. Oh yeah. So what I'm going to do is start with this environmental. It's just a really kind of liquidy rust-looking thing that I found on Amazon. This is awkward.
Go for it.
Thank you. But anyways, this is pretty much really watered down stuff. I use my dog's oil trays, and so what I do is I pretty much just take this guy, pour it in, and then I also use whatever color in this modeling, I use a lot of black as well. So what I do with this is I take just a regular brush, whatever you want, depending on what you're doing, and then just rub it on. Like that. And then take your towel. I also have old work shirts that I used cut up for instead of just always, but just wipe that away. Pat it down, kind of. But now, I don't know if you all could see that. I'll set this over here. What's happening is that the color is seeping into all the cracks, and then what it's showing up is just, it makes it kind of pop a little bit more. On this side, I have some more kind of almost like it would be siding. And just, I'm trying to, usually I'm like messy and going all over the place, but I'm trying to stay very nice and clean in the space that they're letting us use. So depending on the thickness of it, you could start seeing how that really so you can see how things are starting to pop, especially on this one on the left. It's because all that liquid is just kind of sitting into the crevices. And then you're rubbing off the top surface. And then from there, what you're going to want to do, if you would like, is the dry brush. And let's just go with white because that will stand out more. What did I do with my white? All right, so this is the acrylic white. And with dry brushing technique, how are we doing on time?
Pretty good.
Okay. We're almost over. So this is where the fan brush. And so dry brushing, you don't want too much paint. You don't want even at all. It's almost like you just want to introduce it. Like, hey, this is the paint, this is the paintbrush, and that's as much paint as you really want on it. Being a joke, but not really. So just really dab it. But then you have a little bit of paint on there. Take the rest of that off. And then this takes a little while. You start hitting that. I also create ceramic sculptures, and this is where I learned how to do it. It's just through creating my art pieces.
You ever mix chalk with that?
No, but that's something I'm always up for trying something. How would you?
Just kind of what you do, but then it's just chalk dust.
Would that give it a little bit of texture?
Yes.
Okay, I like that. That's
Yeah.
here, I'll just do a little bit. Sometimes if you go too hard, you just wipe it down a little bit. And then Paul and I went on a date. We went up on to ride the train up in the Rainier, and we're sitting there looking at the train, this beautiful steam engine, and Paul goes, "Oh, look at that weathering on the handle where someone just grabs. Isn't that just amazing?" And I'm just like, "That's why I like you." And so, I mean, dry brushing is a great technique. If you just use like some metal. I even got stuff that is for greasy, to put on like the bottom part down here. There's paint for everything. Just go down the rabbit hole. I only got so much time here, but go down the rabbit hole on coloring. Like, what are you painting? Is it going to be greasy? Is it metal? Is it wood? Like, really think about what the material you are using on that. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah.
Yep.
Let's not do that. But these techniques take a little bit of time to learn, but they're not hard at all. And staining and dry brushing is two techniques that I use a lot. Probably the two top ones that I use. But I also use a lot of material. Like this is just pretty much thick mud. And I'll put this on to be mud on some of the stuff, but also use it to kind of create a little bit like maybe grease that built up. like that mud got mixed with grease, and so I put that on there. Just, you know, if you guys have ever worked on like a lawnmower or anything, there's that grease that builds up sometimes with the dirt that gets in there. So you could use it for other things other than just what it is. So this also creates texture, and that's what dry brushing is so important, because dry brushing will give those textures, like make it come out, pop out more. So anyways, thank you so much. Any questions? Yes?
What do you do for a living?
I'm a teacher.
All right.
What do you
Art?
teach?
I teach art. My hat to put the money in for this is right. Any questions? Yes?
A good idea to also help you in your weathering is to, if you can find them, is get the Garden Railroad magazines. And you look through those and pick up pictures. Hey, I like the way that engine looks. That engine was built in 1895. I like to, you know, so it gives you kind of an idea in your mind, and you can then you choose your paints, and you can play with your paints, apply them.
Yeah. That's why I was like going down the rabbit hole with just inspiration and what that does. And I'm not a purist at all. My tin roof isn't probably to scale, but I try to, if close enough is good enough for me. And so just also like creating something that doesn't exist is really interesting for me. So any other questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
So when you're done with your weathering, do you have to seal it all, or is it all pretty well dried and it'll stay there?
It's pretty well dry and stay there. I've ran my coal engine in the rain, light rain. I'm sure it will, but I don't like to seal it because a lot of sealers are either like matte or they're glossy. So I like to use both of those. I like to have things shiny and I like to have things matte. So if I was to seal it, I would probably make it all one, whatever the seal that is. So I stay away from that. And the acrylic paint that I use. And you know what, honestly, if I have to redo it, that's just fun. That's just part of the hobby, you know, is fixing. So I did bring some guys to weather because these guys are too clean, but I'm not going to, but I would just douse these guys in and then just let it dry a little bit and then wipe it off on there. So if anybody has any questions or y'all want to get together and like have a hands-on clinic or do something like that, I'm totally down. I love doing this stuff. Because that's how I learn, you know, just talking about it till I'm blue in the face isn't gonna do anything. So thank you.
All right, thanks, Jimmy.